Well, welcome to another Friday night. We've been doing a little mini series within our reparenting series on some of the lies that we believe, without even realizing it, that come out of either culture or complex trauma. And they actually set us up for a lot of things to fail in adult life. And so part of recovery and reparenting is beginning to identify these lies that exist in our subconscious and begin to change them and actually believe the truth. So today I want to look at some of the lies that come out of our culture and come out of complex trauma regarding dating and intimate relationships. And many of them are subtle because they're just culturally believed. They're culturally out there. They're in movies. We hear them in songs all the time. And they're just presented as if they're the truth. So let me get into these lies. I hope it really helps you begin to think more clearly about some stuff about relationships. So number one is, it's so common. Being in a relationship will fix my loneliness problems. And we've done a video recently on loneliness. And what I want people to realize is loneliness can be experienced within a relationship. Loneliness isn't about a relationship. It's about connection. And if I don't know how to connect in a secure, healthy way, I will be lonely even in a relationship. And so, yes, if I am lonely, yes, if I have the tools to connect, a relationship will be a helpful thing. But if I'm lonely and I don't have tools to connect, the relationship isn't going to help. It's actually going to make things worse. And so the key piece is I got to learn to connect first with myself, because somewhere in complex trauma, because of not being able to connect securely with mom and dad and others, I kind of abandon myself as well and don't connect with myself. I just try to get out of my own skin and distract from my own feelings and thoughts. So I need to learn connection. I think part of a danger with this is that a lot of people, when they're lonely and they think, I just need a relationship, part of what they're thinking is, I need somebody else to fix me. And what I want you to see again is so much of what happened in childhood, parents should have met your needs, but they didn't. The way that they should have, and usually because they didn't know any better. But now you have to parent yourself. You have to learn to meet those needs. Because that was the goal of parenting, was to meet those needs until you learned how to meet them yourself. And so for you to now expect somebody else to be a parent and meet all your needs is for you to stay in a very childlike, immature state. And that's only going to cause relationships to fail. Another lie that can happen for some people is getting married will secure the relationship. So they start dating and or living together, and all of a sudden there's stuff that's going on that's creating some insecurities. Is the relationship in trouble? Are we going to make it? We're starting to have more and more problems and more issues. And so the solution is we just need to get married. That will make sure the relationship gets stable again, is secure, that we're going to stick together. And it's kind of fantasy thinking, magic thinking, but it goes deeper than that. What it's really thinking is that the ritual of the marriage ceremony is going to create stability and security. So it's putting my sense of security in a ritual. But the reality is rituals can be empty. Rituals don't provide security. That's a false sense of security. Security comes when both people are committed to working through issues together in healthy ways, are committed to keep growing in their own life, committed to growing in love in the relationship and all that means, and meeting of needs. Then you have security. But what is so easy for people coming out of complex trauma is they didn't have security. There was chaos in the home. Parents weren't there for them. They didn't have connection. And that's where security is supposed to come from, is healthy connection mainly. It's also supposed to come from parents providing a safe environment, but it's mainly coming from connection. But when you don't have connection, what children often do is to think the path to security is to have the external environment that looks stable. So let's have the good job, the nice house, the money in the bank. Let's get married. That provides security. But it's got it backwards. Security comes from true connection, from both wanting to get healthy. A third one is also kind of magical thinking, and it's if it's true love, it will just work. And we get this in movies and songs all the time. I met you, I fell in love with you, we both feel so strongly towards each other, have such 100% positive feelings for each other, think only 100% positively about each other. We seem to get along so well together, we've never had a conflict. It's just going to work. And that is limbic brain, that's oxytocin, and the effect of oxytocin creating these intense positive feelings. But that's very childlike. Child looking at the future based on what they're feeling right now. They're not looking realistically at here's what makes for a healthy life. Here's what makes for a healthy relationship. Here's what life is really all about and what true happiness, the recipe for true happiness and success are. They just go, I feel good, so I just need to keep reproducing whatever's making this feeling and it'll be great forever. And so, again, a relationship isn't guaranteed to work because you both have a good feeling. A relationship only works if both people are committed to get healthy, committed to work through stuff in healthy ways, are committed to meeting 12 needs, love. And so what that means in very practical terms is a relationship only works if both people are able to have secure attachment. If they're both still in insecure attachment, they're going to have trouble. A relationship's only going to work if both are able to be authentic. If they're wearing masks or fawning, it's not going to work. It's only going to work if they're able to be vulnerable and to open up and to allow deeper and deeper intimacy. If they treat each other with respect as equals, that your needs matter just as much as mine. If they're able to be present and emotionally available to the other person, if they're able to trust, if they're able to communicate, if they're able to set healthy boundaries. Those are the ingredients of a healthy marriage. It doesn't matter the feelings. They come and go. You have to have those foundation stones. And if they're not there, you can have all the fantasy thinking you want and all the magical thinking you want, but it won't create a healthy relationship. There's a fourth lie that comes out of parts of our culture, and that is, I'm in love with you. I will never have feelings for anybody else. And I think anybody who's lived very long at all knows that that's a lie. Yes, I have strong feelings for you now, and in this moment, I don't have feelings for anybody else. But over time, those feelings will dim a little bit. I will probably feel some attraction to others. That's just being human. That doesn't mean I'm failing. That doesn't mean I love you. That just means I'm a human. So let me just expand on that a little bit. What happens in complex trauma is it sets you up to think that these intense feelings coming out of oxytocin, coming from this attraction that I'm feeling, that they're going to last forever. The reality is if people from complex trauma haven't learned how to connect in healthy ways. And so their only feeling of connection is intense feelings. But if you haven't learned to connect in healthy ways, you're going to get into a relationship with intense feelings but not have true connection. And what's going to happen without true connection is those feelings are going to quickly disappear. And then what's going to happen is the next person you see that creates intense feelings, you're going to feel connection to them, and all of a sudden, part of you wants to move on. And so the issue isn't the intense feeling. The issue is there true connection? Because if there's not, then you're going to find yourself attracted to others. More than that, lack of connection leads to discontent. The relationship becomes boring. The relationship becomes frustrating. And so not being able to connect creates a real vulnerability to be attracted to others. But there's more than that. Every relationship has its ups and downs. You can have true connection, but it's not always going to have intense emotions. True connection doesn't need intense emotions. But yet, you're going to meet people and feel an attraction to. That's normal. That doesn't mean there's something wrong in the relationship. That just means you're human, but you need to know how to handle those feelings of being attracted to others so that you don't feed them. Because if you start feeding them, then that can pull you away from the true connection back to this very oxytocin intense feeling, which could be very unhealthy. And so recognize, yes, you're probably at times in your life going to feel attractions. Okay, what's going on here? I'm feeling attraction, but I don't really want something else. So I need to manage that. I'm not going to feed it. And usually those feelings will pass if you don't feed it within a couple weeks. But not feeding it requires really good boundaries, internal and external. So I'm not going to let myself think about it. I'm not going to text. I'm not going to call. I'm not going to go and try and be in the same room where they're going to be at and interact with them. You have to have good boundaries. And let me just add this. If you're in a relationship and there's true connection, but now you're feeling a connection or you're feeling an attraction to somebody else, and it's not going away, and part of you is starting to want to feed it, please talk to somebody. Because if you've got a really good connection and a healthy relationship, it's not worth it to lose that for this very intense limbic brain experience. Another subtle one that's part of our culture is if the package is beautifully wrapped, its contents must be fabulous. We have so much focus on our culture on the package, how beautiful the package is. We sexualize women's bodies all the time. The focus is that body and how pretty it is. And so many people, when they date, that's their main criteria, is this has to be a drop-dead gorgeous person. And so if this person is so gorgeous that they make you just fall over the moon in love, then it must be going to work. It must be the right person. So I want to acknowledge that, yeah, we want to be in a relationship with somebody that we find attractive. But please think about it a bit deeper. The external packaging doesn't tell you about what's on the inside. And it's the inside that's the real person. So you can have the most drop-dead gorgeous person and get married to them and find out that the inside is quite ugly. Pretty soon, you're going to lose interest in the external. So please understand that if you're not marrying or getting into a relationship with the soul of your partner, there will be nothing to hold you together once the packaging becomes less appealing. So here's what makes this difficult. A beautiful package is very seductive because it sets off brain chemicals, oxytocin, dopamine, that give very nice feelings that cause me to start to want something, to be attracted to something, to feel in love with something. They feel like the truth, but we have to be able to get out of that limbic brain and go, okay, the packaging isn't the real person, isn't the true person. It's the soul that's the true person. And so all of this external beauty is making me susceptible to believe lies. So yes, I'll be attracted initially to the packaging of a person, but where do I go from there? This is, to me, the purpose of dating, is to get to know the soul of a person, to find out what they're like on the inside, to see if they've got underlying deep trauma issues that are maladaptations that are going to set up the relationship to fail. So that's what I want to explore, and I want to see them in all kinds of different settings with all kinds of different people to really get to see the inside of a person, their soul. That's what I want to fall in love with. So understand, though, also how this external packaging affects you. Yes, it does affect you. Don't deny that, but don't allow it to overly influence you. So I want to get to know person's soul, personality, priorities, values, deepest passions, and realize that that takes time. I got to see them in all kinds of different settings. And as I'm getting to know them, I realize, wow, there's some major flaws here, maladaptations here. And you talk about them and they're not willing to own them. They're not willing to go there and look at their deeper issues. Then know this relationship is not going to work, regardless of how beautiful they are. That's what determines what really causes a relationship to work or not. And if I don't accept that, I'm going to have years of pain. If I pursue this relationship just because they're beautiful, but they don't deal with their underlying deep maladaptive issues, I'm going to have years of pain. But if I end it now, yeah, it's going to hurt. I'm going to grieve, but it's going to spare me years of pain. The next one is a romantic relationship is the automatic ticket to self-esteem. So many people with shame walk around, they don't like themselves, they feel others don't like them, so their self-esteem is very low. They don't feel good enough, they don't feel lovable, valuable. And so what they begin to think is, if somebody else likes me, then I'm just going to like myself. It's going to fix my shame issues. But that's codependency. It's depending on others to give me positive validation to feel better about myself. But that doesn't heal shame. It just temporarily makes me feel better. Shame heals when I choose to give myself positive validation and accept who I am and not be dependent on others giving me positive validation as the only way to feel better about myself. So know this, if you don't accept yourself, truly love yourself, when others give it to you, it will feel good for a bit, but after a while, it'll be water off a duck's back. Because what you believe about yourself is your deepest belief, and that's what you're going to default back to. Also be aware that often people pick somebody that says nice things to them, but that's them fawning. Their deep character is shame as well. And once you get together, that person is going to eventually tell you what you believe truly about yourself. They're going to say shame messages to you and communicate that they don't think you're actually good enough. That's what usually happens. So please understand this. Somebody else can't make you whole. You have to heal yourself. You have to take the steps to be good enough and accept who you are before any relationship will work. As long as you're looking to somebody else to heal your shame, to fix your self-esteem issues, you're putting a pressure on them that is not sustainable, and eventually it's going to break down. Line number 7, a romantic relationship magically changes people for the better. Again, I think this comes out of a fantasy. It's based a little bit on what feels like truth. So let's say you see somebody that's in addiction or is very angry, just a very unhappy person. And part of you knows if that was a little child, they just need to be loved. They just need to be accepted. Then that little child will let go of their anger, will be good because they know they're loved. So this adult just needs to be loved, and it's going to change them for good. They're going to let go of their anger, their controlling nature, their addiction. It sounds good, but the truth is, if they were controlling before the relationship, there's other issues besides just lack of love that cause them to be controlling. And if they're not willing to look at those other issues, their shame-ish issues, you can love them all you want, they're still going to be controlling. They have to be willing to do work on themselves, very painful core issues, before they're going to change. Yes, they need a safe environment to do that where there is love, but just having a loving environment isn't going to magically fix them. So the point again is this: we can't change anybody. We can provide love and safety, but unless they're willing to change, it's not going to happen. So please know this, that if you get an angry, controlling person and you shower love on them, they might change a little bit temporarily. But if they don't deal with those deeper issues, they're going to regress back to being that controlling, angry person again. So I think what I see in so many people when they fall in love is they fall in love with a fantasy, that they're going to make this fantasy relationship, fantasy person, all you need is love, that's going to fix everything. And it doesn't look realistically at what brings about true change. Next is that a romantic relationship will magically cure one's sexual struggles. So I hear this often, people that struggle with sex addiction, porn addiction, just this insatiable longing for sex. They go, I just need to get in a relationship. And if I get sex in a healthy relationship, that'll fix all of my sexual problems. Now, there's, again, a partial that if you're in a relationship, yes, it is a sexual outlet that can be very meaningful. And for a person that just has a good sex drive and able to have true connection and they don't use sex in unhealthy ways, then a relationship can really help with kind of that sexual frustration. But if a person has a sex addiction, porn addiction, there's other issues that are driving the car. There's lack of connection issues often behind it that drove them to want to connect with magazines and pictures and one-night stands to avoid true healthy connection. They don't know how to have that. So what happens is, if they get into a relationship, it might help them with their sex addiction stuff for a while. But if they don't deal with those underlying issues, it's only a matter of time before they're going to be right back at them. So please be aware that a relationship isn't a magic fix to sexual problems. You got to deal with other issues in order to deal with those problems. The next lie, and you'll hear this often in abusive relationships from narcissists, that their jealousy is a sign that they truly love you. So please understand that when you get into a relationship in the early days, everybody feels a little bit of insecurity and jealousy when their date goes and talks to other people. They go, are they going to be looking for somebody else? They're going to dump me. And that insecurity and jealousy is normal because I don't know them well enough yet to know if they're trustworthy, if their commitment to me is solid. And so I feel some insecurity. That's normal. That takes time for living with a person who consistently lives out commitment and trustworthiness, where that insecurity disappears and I just have a confidence that, hey, they can talk to other people, but I know we're solid. So what happens though with a person with complex trauma is that they have this deep shame that basically believes that everybody, once they get to know me, is going to leave me eventually. So now when they get in a relationship, they're pretty sure you're going to leave them. So their jealousy now is not based on your behavior, it's based on their undealt with shame. So now you talk to anybody and they go, they're going to leave me. See, they're cheating on me, and they blame it on you. But it's their shame that's the issue. But they don't want to look at that. So they're not willing to look at their true issues. They're not willing to sit in the discomfort of that initial insecurity and unknown in a relationship. As I get to know a person, as they prove their trustworthiness, I'm not willing to sit in those uncomfortable emotions. So I try to make you responsible for those emotions and to take them away. And now I blame you for those emotions. Instead of either acknowledging that hey, this is the normal part of the early days of a relationship, or this is actually my shame, I try to control you. That's where most jealousy comes from, and it is destructive. So jealousy can't be love if it tries to control the other person, or if it blames the other person for your own emotions, or if it tries to isolate the other person from relationships that are healthy. That's your issue. That's not love. Next one. A happy and fulfilling relationship requires having common interests. And again, we're initially attracted to a person because of the external package and because we share common interests. That's the starting point. Common interests have a place, but common interests don't keep a relationship together. You can have very different interests, but if you have common interests in core areas, your deepest beliefs and commitments, you can have a wonderful relationship. So just having both an interest in the same kind of music and sports or whatever, that doesn't guarantee a healthy relationship. It's common interests around core issues. Number 11, there's one person in the world out there who's meant for me. And so this comes out of people who basically think there's this cosmic plan for my life. Mr. Perfect's out there waiting for me, and I just have to find them. And so connected to that is the next one, which says, these people often say, and that's, if I follow God, he will lead me to this person who was made just for me. And once I meet this Mr. Perfect who is made for me, who's part of the plan for my life, then everything will magically just work out. And so if a relationship was meant to be, it's part of God's plan, the cosmic plan, it magically just works out. And so, again, the assumption is that the success of a relationship is dependent on God leading you to the right person. It's not dependent on, are you able to connect and be authentic and to be vulnerable and to communicate and to trust and all the things we talked about. It somehow magically will just happen if you find this magic person. Some add to it, I met this person by the weirdest coincidence. So it's like the universe dropped them into my lap. So they must be the person for me. It must be God's will. It's going to magically work. Again, it's fantasy thinking. It's magic thinking. The next one is, when I find my soulmate, I will feel complete. So I've heard people say this. They meet a girl, let's say, and they go, you know what, I'm a puzzle and there's 100 pieces to my puzzle. I've got 99 of them in place. I just need one more piece, and that's a soulmate. Then I will be complete. Now there's an element in which we're made for connection. We long for intimate connection, and we long for that companionship where there's a sense where, yes, this person completes me. But these people are taking it beyond that to an unhealthy thing. And what they're basically saying is, I am dependent on you to make me feel complete. That is so dangerous. A relationship works when two people get to a point in their life where they are healing and growing. They feel whole. They don't go looking for somebody based on need. I need you to make me feel complete. You have to meet some of my needs. They go, no, I know how to take care of my needs and have relationships where those needs are met. I want a relationship with you because we both add to each other. There's a connection that's special. It's not that I need you to complete me. I'm already okay on my own. That is a more healthy approach. So true completeness comes from getting your needs met in a healthy way. It's not that you need some other person to complete you. To put that expectation on another person, to me, puts too much pressure on that person, expectation on them, and it ultimately leads to destroying the relationship. Then there's another lie, and it goes, if my partner changes, then we'll be happy. So this goes two ways in codependency. For some people, they go, if there's a problem in the relationship, it must be my fault. I need to find the solution. I need to change. I must be doing something wrong. And so we're very familiar with that one. But then there's the other side, and that is my partner's an addict. My partner's a workaholic. That's what's causing the problems of our relationship. If my partner just got clean and sober, worked less, then it would fix the relationship. Everything would be good. So what you're doing is diagnosing the relationship. We've got problems, and you're saying it's this one thing that they're doing. If that's fixed, everything is going to be good. But do you realize that, yes, your partner might need to change all those things. Yes, your partner might be all those things that you say about them that are wrong. But if they changed all those things, I doubt it's going to fix your relationship. Because there's a whole bunch of other issues, and you've got some of those issues. The reason you were attracted to your partner in the first place with his issues probably indicates that you got some issues. And if you don't look at your issues, he can change all his, or she can change all hers, but if you don't change yours, you're still going to have issues. So don't just focus on one issue. There's a whole bunch of issues, and you're part of them that are contributing to the problems in this relationship. Next one. People say this, I just need lots of sex in the relationship in order to be happy. And I say, hey, there's nothing wrong with lots of sex. But for you to be happy is a lot bigger than just having lots of sex. So sex, please understand, can be a very positive part of a relationship, but it can also be a very negative force in a relationship if you're not connecting, if you're not getting healthy, if you're not dealing with your underlying issues. So sex gives pleasure, but it's not the cause of true happiness. True happiness comes out of all my 12 needs being met, dealing with my shame and my underlying issues. Sex is not just about connecting physically and having the pleasure of that. Truly healthy sexual relationship is that you connect also emotionally, and you love each other every day, not just when you want sex. You're present to the other person, emotionally available. So meaningful sex is not just great sex in the act of sex. It's all of life and true connection. So sex, please understand, is not the glue that holds a relationship together. And sadly, many people coming out of complex trauma who don't know how to connect, who don't know how to have that glue of communication and trust and true connection and presence to each other, they just think, well, if we've got a problem, let's have sex. That makes us feel close again. And they put all the weight on sex to be the glue that holds them together, but it doesn't. It's other issues. And so if you just focus on sex all the time, but you're not treating your partner with respect and truly connecting and being emotionally available, sex pretty soon is not going to even come close to holding the relationship together. The final one, and we've talked about this before, but let me just talk about it again. The past is over. And so sadly, many couples, they start to have problems, and you go, well, you need to deal with stuff from your past. That's why you're acting the way you are today. And they go, oh no, the past is over. The past doesn't affect me. And so again, this is tricky, and you got to think about it carefully. But the bottom line is the past influences how we act today. The past influences how we approach relationships. So the past shapes how we think, feel, cope, relate. It's all about the past. And so if you have tons of complex trauma that you have not dealt with, in order to survive in all that complex trauma, you had to adapt. And many of those adaptations set you up to fail in intimate relationship. So many of those coping things happened within an intimate relationship. And so in adult life, they're not going to be seen for what they are until you're in an intimate relationship. And then you go back to those ways of coping which cause them to fail. So let me give you a couple tricky pieces to this past thing. So the first one I get asked all the time is, how much do I tell them about my past? Do I tell them about kind of in gritty detail about all of the cheating that I've done and sleeping around that I've done and sexual escapades that I've done? And I go, yeah, I'm not sure you need to go in all the gritty detail. You need to be able to say in general terms, hey, I'm not proud of a lot of the stuff I've done in the past. I'm not going to go into details on it. And if they try to force you to details, that's their insecurities. That's them setting it up for this relationship to fail. But you may need to be able to say, hey, I got to talk to you about some of the stuff from my past, about the sexual abuse, about some of my behaviors in my teens and 20s sexually, whatever, about some of my control issues. And you need to do that to grow in honesty and intimacy in the relationship and trust in the relationship. You don't want to hide. You don't want secrets, even general secrets. But to open up about those areas, to be vulnerable, that can create a ton of fear. Because if they find this out about me, they might run. They might abandon me. They might end the relationship. That shame, that's being triggered with that. So be aware that the longer you put off talking about some of this stuff, they're probably going to figure it out eventually. They're probably sensing that you're holding something back, and they're going to start to wonder, what are they holding back? Is something going on? And they're going to jump to their own conclusions, or they're going to go digging and find out stuff. And then when they figure it out and realize you never told them, they go, wow, they're keeping secrets. I wonder what else they're not telling me. So that's one piece. Another tricky piece is, let's say somebody says to you, hey, in the past, I sexually abused people, I physically abused people, but I've changed. Now, I'm paying attention now. A person doesn't change from patterns of sexual abuse and physical abuse just because they say so. I want to go and find out, what have they done to work on their trauma, on their shame, on these issues, on their anger, on their control. Because words are empty if they haven't done some really hard work in therapy. So people don't just change automatically because they get in a new relationship and say, I'm not going to do that anymore. No, they will go back to those old patterns as soon as the relationship starts to have issues. And then I get asked all the time about, how much do I tell them about being sexually abused as a child? And I go, you have to be able to share some of that, because sex becomes an important part of an intimate relationship. But if you've got sexually abused, that's going to affect your ability to engage fully in the sexual relationship. That's going to put stress on the relationship. That's going to cause conflict. That's going to make the other person feel they're doing something wrong. You're going to get triggered when you go to have sex. That's going to require the other person maybe to say, hey, I might have to do without sex for a bit while you work on your issues. That's going to make this relationship hard. What are we going to do to kind of help with still having a sexual relationship without violating some of your triggers? So makes it super, super tough. Let me say the final thing about dealing with the past. If somebody shares their past with you and it's got some messy stuff in it, part of loving that person is never to throw that back in their face in a way to hurt them, in a way to make them feel less than you. But understand, we all need to look at our past. We need to figure out how my past affected me and set me up for some of the ways I cope and relate today. So, those are some of the lies we believe around dating and relationships. I hope that, again, helps you. If this was helpful, please like, subscribe, share, comment. It means so much to us. Thanks again. Have a great